Good morning and welcome to Market Opening on our brand new collab show between Business Today and India Today TV. It's 9 a.m. and we're here to get you ahead of the curve as markets kick off trading for the day. Let's take a look at what's hot in the corporate and financial space this morning. A big shake-up for Indian techies eyeing jobs in the US. Days after hiking the fees on H-1B visas, the Trump administration is proposing foundational changes to the system. Instead of a random lottery, visas will now be allocated based on skill level and wages. Higher paid, high-skilled workers will get priority, while entry-level applicants could see their chances shrink. U.S. Central Bank Chief Jerome Powell flags high valuations on Wall Street and warns that inflation could return if interest rates were cut too aggressively. Comments trigger profit booking in U.S. markets, with the red-hot tech stocks shedding some of their recent gains. HSBC upgrades Indian stock market after 8 months, sets Sensex target at 94,000, says India is Asia's quiet corner with resilient domestic investors despite foreign fund outflows. Food delivery giant Swiggy approves 2,400 crore rupee stake sale in Rapido to process in Westbridge Capital. Exit comes as Rapido enters food delivery space, marking one of the year's biggest startup deals. Accenture eyes major Andhra Pradesh push, proposes a 10-acre campus in Visakhapatnam under the state's land policy at just 99 paise an acre, with plans to add 12,000 jobs. Reuters reports citing sources, India already its biggest global base with over 3 lakh staff. All right, let's start with the global setup then, and some amount of profit booking coming in last night. Remember, after those record highs on those tech stocks as they keep the momentum intact on Wall Street. Let's quickly pull up some of those global indices for you, as well as the overnight action, so you can take a look. And the Fed commentary also continuing to warn a little bit about economic outlook going ahead. So just those cues coming in for some amount of profit booking across the board in the US markets overnight. In other global news, of course, we're tracking very closely for you the H-1B visa fallout. Now, that lifeline that we thought was in place could be slipping out of reach for thousands of Indian IT workers. It's not just the 90 lakh rupee fee that the US has imposed on each visa. The Donald Trump administration is now proposing radical changes to the entire system. The traditional H-1B lottery is likely to be scrapped and replaced with a wage-based system. Workers will be slotted into 4 wage bands, with those at the top getting multiple chances in the draw, and the highest tier will be the one earning over $160,000 annually and will be entered into the selection pool 4 times. In contrast, the lowest tier gets just 1 entry, increasing the probability of the highest paid, highest skilled applicants being selected. Importantly, the draw will be for 1 position instead of the current generic lottery for 85,000 positions. The fresh proposal adds to the steep $100,000 fee on new petitions as well. Business groups warn it may shut out young talent, while legal experts say the plan could trigger court challenges as well. We'll, of course, bring you more on that as it continues to develop. And also overnight, of course, remember, Piyush Goyal has been in the US, Commerce and Industry Minister, to further bilateral trade discussions. Little is known about the progress so far, but what the minister has spoken about is the vast scope of trade in energy and nuclear sectors. Let's listen in.
We expect to increase our trade with the US on energy products in the years to come. And being close friends, natural partners, our energy security goals will have a very high element of US involvement, which will ensure price stability, which will ensure diversified sources of energy for India, and help us unlock limitless possibilities with the US on various fronts, energy and beyond. Another area where India and the US can work together, plan to work together, is nuclear power. It's an area that we've been talking of for a long time.
All right, let's look at the trade setup this morning. We've got Gaurang Shah joining us. We've also got Shailendra Bhatnagar with us. As always, let's dive deep into what the setup's looking like. Shail, first give us a quick look at the Nifty and what the benchmark's expected to do today.
Good morning, Aabha. Hello, Gaurang, and a warm welcome to everyone on this lovely Wednesday morning. Well, a bit of profit booking will still continue on Dalal Street, Aabha. The Nifty will test its 21-day EMA, and that's probably because of continued weakness in tech stocks. Bank Nifty, on the other hand, is looking much, much better. A record high on State Bank of India. Strong moves in Axis and Kotak banks are helping this index. HDFC and ICICI are flat at the moment, but they'll be used a little later to take the Nifty to a record high. Apart from that, you'll see a lot of demand coming in for PSU stocks, especially the private banking space within the PSU sectors, stocks like Canara Bank. Auto continues to hog the limelight, although we have seen a very sharp rally on Hyundai and Maruti, but top draw there. A lot of caution is advised on the long side. All in all, a weak Wednesday today as far as the Nifty is concerned, but overall a strong momentum as far as the broader markets are concerned. Aabha.
Okay, great. I'm going to come back and ask you a little bit more detail on both auto and financials, Shell, but let me bring in Gaurang. Gaurang, good morning. Just counting down to opening and a lot of big newsmakers today as well. What's your overall take first on the sentiment on D Street this morning?
Thank you so much, Aabha, for having me on this show. Good morning to all the viewers of India Today and BTTV. Good morning to you and to my good friend Shell. I agree with Shell. I think it's going to be a soft opening. If I'm not mistaken, tomorrow is the monthly expiry of the F&O segment, so you could expect a little bit of elevated volatility in the market. Having said that, I think there is going to be sector-specific and stock-specific news, Aabha, which will be in focus. Weakness on IT will continue given the new development overnight in terms of lottery system, as you were mentioning, being scrapped off, and more skill-based and fee-based or salary-based rollouts should be done as far as H-1B visa is concerned. So IT will continue to be under pressure, but we remain positive on IT from a long-term point of view. Defense is something that will continue to hog the limelight. We discussed it even last time that about the markets and the defense sector, cap goods engineering along with that. And I think spotlight would definitely be on cement sector as well, given the kind of infrastructure activity that we are witnessing.
Okay. Well, I've also got to get your view on Swiggy, Gaurang. Let me just run our viewers through the news. They're set to exit Rapido. And remember, of course, Swiggy has been running in losses. So this news is actually quite positive for the counter because they'd forayed into food delivery. The company has now approved the sale of that stake to Process and Westbridge Capital for 2,400 crore rupees. So lots of action coming in for Swiggy on the basis of that news. Gaurang, how do you think the markets will read into this in terms of course, the cash infusion, but on the other hand, wondering perhaps strategically what this means?
A small disclosure, Aabha, because we are talking stock specific. Yeah. All recommendations that I'm going to give you on this show are a part of our research team recommendation. Our company, Jiyojit or I, we do not have any personal investment, no financial interest, no conflict of interest, but we give recommendations to our clients on similar lines. They might have their investment interest. So, if I have to compare between Swiggy and Eternal, which was known as Zomato earlier, Eternal has been on an all-time high, lifetime high, if I'm not mistaken. And somewhere Swiggy has been struggling in terms of performance. And it's somewhere close to its IPO price. I believe it was 385 or 400. The problem for Swiggy is in terms of earnings visibility and the kind of pressure that is there on the bottom line. This stake sale of Rapido may be a short-term trigger, Aabha, because it's not going to materially change the earnings of the company. How are the proceeds going to be utilized? I think that's going to be very prudent and important. I guess the management will possibly throw some light over there after some time. But we do not have coverage on Swiggy, so it's not a recommendation. But Eternal, that is Zomato, we continue to have a positive coverage.
All right. In fact, with Instamart, we did see Swiggy see over 100% growth year on year on Instamart. The AOV rising about 26% to 612 rupees, even though the adjusted EBITDA still remains negative at minus 15.8%. So that's perhaps the one bright spot they've seen so far this festive season. But agree with you, Gaurang, overall, the market's still waiting for clarity. Having said that, we're still seeing a lot of buy calls coming in on the counter, and we'll wait to see how it kicks off on opening bell. 4% up just this week, trading at about 458 right now. So just counting down now, 3, 2, 1 for opening bell this Wednesday morning. Let's pull up those ticks for you. Nifty first, let's see how it's kicked off this morning, just down 0.16%. So really steady at the moment, no major profit booking coming in at this point of time, just steady, just quiet as we speak. We've got the Nifty Bank also tepid in early morning trade. Let's pull up the auto index as well. IT also continuing to see pressure, but just down about 0.3%. We did see a little bit of a pullback yesterday. Auto taking a little bit of a breather today, and we'll come back and talk to Gaurang about auto in just a moment as well. PSU Bank, some action there. I know it's been on Shell's list, so I'll go back and ask him about some of the names you should be watching out for there as well. But it's the PSU banks that are a little bit of the bright spot, not the overall financial space at this point of time. Let's pull up Swiggy. Let's pull up the main newsmaker this morning and see how it's reacting to the Rapido news, and if there's any kind of reaction coming in there. That's quite a big deal, a large size in the startup space, but a moderate reaction on the stock. It's up just about 0.5%, has been up close to 4% in the week, but just about 0.6% today on the announcement of that deal coming in. Few other stocks in news, and we'll run you through them as we continue to chat with our guests. But let me first go across to Shell on some of the newsmakers this morning, as well as, Shell, what we're seeing on PSU banks, what we're seeing in terms of other gainers or pockets of green in the broader markets.
Well, Aabha, I think there's a bit of weakness profit booking on third consecutive day as far as markets are concerned. The lone bright spot so far is the Nifty PSU banking index, up 0.7%. All 12 stocks are in the green, and obviously the rally is led by State Bank of India, 0.7% higher, fresh record high. What's also interesting, Aabha, is amongst the top 10 index heavyweights, only SBI is in the green. So that goes on to prove how this rally is being treated as far as the markets are concerned. Advanced decline a bit tepid, 1,000 shares in the green, 800 in the red. And you have a profit booking across the board. You have the 100, 200, Nifty 500 indices in the red. Sectorally, Nifty Bank, Nifty Auto, Nifty Energy is down as far as profit booking is concerned. All-time highs, well, nothing as of now, but volume buzzers in the form of Minda Corp, Tata Investment, and of course, Shipping Corporation of India. I would bet a lot of horses on PSU shipping stocks as also shipbuilders, Aabha.
All right, thanks for that, Shell. Shipping Corp up 2.5% today, in fact. Gaurang, I want to focus on auto for a moment, though. Even though we're seeing some amount of quiet today, we've seen some of those stocks on the roll, whether it be the two-wheelers, whether it be Maruti, Hyundai. Eicher, of course, continues to trend at highs. M&M has already seen a great pickup, with the Navratras and the festive season kicking off. And auto ancillaries, we've been talking about that as well, and how they're also now seeing an uptake on the back of revival in the overall segment. How are you approaching strategy when it comes to auto? And are you still a little wary for the longer term, or are you looking closely at auto as perhaps things changing more structurally?
Well, absolutely positive. No doubt about that on autos. What we witnessed from Monday, that is 22nd, and yesterday, that was 23rd, was primarily because of the numbers that the companies reported. I think Maruti sold historical high numbers for the last 34 years, 30,000 vehicles, 11,000 vehicles reported by Hyundai, if I'm not mistaken, and similarly a good set of numbers from Tata Motors. Now we have to remember one thing, that from 15th of August onwards, since the time the Honorable Prime Minister announced this GST rate cut, I think for the last 40 odd days, all those customers who were wanting to go ahead and book a vehicle, whether it is two-wheeler, three-wheeler, or a four-wheeler, they were holding on for 22nd of September, given the benefit that they would get. So along with the GST benefit, most of the companies have also doled out festive discounts. So that added to the positivities in terms of numbers. It would be prudent to see how these numbers continue as far as the overall month-on-month sales numbers for the next couple of months. And of course, what will be the impact on the quarterly earnings? There is absolutely no doubt that most of the automobile manufacturing companies have also spoken about high demand, high booking coming in, and that is one of the reasons why inventories have gone down. Some of the companies have already spoken about capex because of the high demand to meet up with the high demand. And along with that, I think export competitiveness will also have a positive impact on the month-on-month numbers that we'll get from all the automobile manufacturing companies. So the long term, okay, I mean, because the stocks have rallied for the last couple of weeks, we are witnessing a little bit of profit booking. No complaints against that. But the long-term story for the Indian automobile industry remains very much intact.
All right. Let me also go across to Krishna now. He's joining us on the Swiggy news. Krishna, good morning. From a stock market POV, we were just talking about how perhaps, it's still a little unclear to us how they're going to allocate those funds and what it'll mean for Swiggy strategically. Run us through, what you're hearing in terms of the outlook on Swiggy going ahead post this deal.
Hi, Aabha. Okay, for starters, this is really a result of conflict of interest because Rapido, purely from being a ride-hailing service, is now moving into food delivery, space that's been occupied by Swiggy and its arch rivals Zomato for a while now. The way I look at it, Swiggy put in about 1,000 crores in 2022. They're exiting at about a 2.3x return, which is great. It also brings cash back into the stable of Swiggy, I think, which is more than welcome. Also, it opens up the whole business for Rapido in the sense the moment they're able to map it in terms of from being a ride-hailing service, they understand the consumer very well, at least that part of the consumer business. It allows them to get into an allied business like food delivery. So I think from a strategic sense, it's great. It also gives the investors, namely Prosus and Westbridge, a chance to hike their stake in Rapido, something they've been looking at. There's still been no real talk of Rapido looking to go public. But to my mind, this could very well lay the foundation for that particular development at some point in time. But I think overall, it's a good development, brings in money for Swiggy more than anything else, and to, I think, drive home the point that the conflict of interest is an area that needs to be defined very, very clearly.
But do you really think there's space for a third player, Krishna? That's the big question.
I really think so, Aabha, because the market is still very large in India. We have a large part of India which is still really coming up with that sense. The availability of data at a low cost obviously opens up the market completely. And the fact that we have a heterogeneous cuisine across an audience that's really large, I think really sets it up. So even if you look at larger markets, though it's a duopoly, food habits are pretty much uniform as opposed to India. So I think it's still an underpenetrated market as we speak.
All right, Krishna, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Gaurang, I want to just come back to you also on the PSU banks that we're looking at this morning. A lot of action there. We talked about it being a bright spot. But I think even on the F&O side, we are seeing a whole bunch of these PSU banks that are the top gainers right now. What's your view when it comes to these names, and anything particular there catching your eye, or as a theme, what's your view?
So we have about 5 or 6 names under fundamental coverage for the PSU banks. State Bank of India, Indian Bank, Bank of Baroda, Bank of India, Canara Bank, and PNB. These are some 5-6 names on the fundamental side on which we have positive coverage. And our anticipation is that the loan demand, that is credit demand, Aabha, is going to go up substantially, which will improve the loan book. We have had consistent downtake in terms of gross and net NPS, which has enabled the provisions to come back to the balance sheet. And of course, interest rates coming down augurs extremely well. So if I have to put all this thing in perspective, I think the entire BFSI segment, whether it is private sector bank, public sector bank, or strong NBFCs, all these 3 verticals in the BFSI segments are likely to perform well going into the future.
Okay, great. Shell, a quiet market, but you mentioned lots of other movers there when we last spoke. On the F&O side, anything else we should be watching out for today?
I think, Aabha, this day belongs to PSU stocks, in particular PSU banks. Out of top 7 gainers in F&O, you have 4 PSU banks led by Indian Bank, a record high here, 706. Bank of Baroda about 1% higher. Canara Bank, the third top gainer, 123 rupees at about 0.4% higher. Bank of India, PNB, SBI, and of course Union Bank, Federal Bank. So if you extend the F&O setup for the top 12 gainers. You have 8 banks, including 2 private sector ones, which is Yes Bank and Federal Bank, all through a broader rally which is taking root, and this is also a good sign as far as the broader markets are concerned. You have value coming in. A bit of a view on Swiggy as well as the India internet space. What's happening, Aabha, is that a lot of established mutual funds are reducing their positions in frontline IT software exporters because of H1B problems and many other things that you talk about. But that money is moving into the India internet space. Look at Car Trade, look at PNB FinTech. All these companies have posted very, very smart gains over the last 3 months or so, ever since this problem became publicly known. Lots of other issues as far as the TSPs are concerned, but the India internet space doing very well. Keep an eye out on Eternal, take my word for it.
Okay, Shell, I'm holding you to that. It's also good that you brought up car trade, because we are seeing some of those counters also seeing record highs or really sharp movement on the back of the festive season. So keep an eye on some of these names. Shell, Gaurang, great to have you with us on the show as always. Have a great day going ahead. And something interesting for our viewers, President Trump's big statement against the medicine Tylenol had the opposite effect on the stock price of the drug maker. The share of Kenvue, the company which makes the widely sold medicine, zoomed as much as 7% in early hours of trading on Wall Street. It was only later that the price moderated somewhat, but still closed 1.5% in the green. And before we leave you for the day, visuals of a major technical failure at the UN building in New York. As US President Donald Trump and his wife Melania stepped on an escalator in the building, it stopped. The first couple had to climb the stairs to the General Assembly Hall, where Trump later slammed the UN for this glitch, as well as another where the autocue machine failed. MAGA activists are speculating that the glitches were deliberate to stop Trump's speech at the UN.
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.
Hello, Moto. Do the Moto Moto.
Moto G96 5G, segment's undisputed all-rounder.
I choose a world where we dream, and the limit is the sky. And this world is my home where I'm living my best.
Mindfully crafted home decor fabrics. Sansar, a D-Decor brand. Live consciously.
सैल्यूट है जी, आप देश की रक्षा में जान लगा देते हैं और आप घर घर में तार लगाते हैं जी। ई बीम टेक्नोलॉजी से बनी, न जले न पिघले, सबकी रक्षा करे।
हम सरहद पर लोगों की रक्षा करते हैं और आप देश के अंदर। सैल्यूट तो बनता है जी।
अपार अनुशक्ति फायर प्रोटेक्ट वायर, अपार देश का तार।
Grab Motorola Edge 60 Pro today.
Hi, here are the top headlines presented by Motorola. Shah Rukh and Vikrant Messi shines at 71st National Awards. Receives Best Actor Award. Akhilesh on Azam Khan's release. Says all cases will be withdrawn if we form government. Ashok Chaudhary sends rupees 100 crore defamation notice to Prashant Kishore.
India Today Conclave Mumbai 2025. September 25 and 26 Mumbai. Book your seat now.